Hello, and welcome to today's video. Whether you're a home gardener, a small-scale farmer, or just someone curious about how seeds grow, this video is going to unlock one of the most important, yet often overlooked, secrets to successful planting: seed treatment. You might think that planting a seed is as simple as dropping it in the soil and watering it, right? Well, not quite. Many gardeners and farmers, both beginners and experienced ones, struggle with poor germination, seeds that fail to sprout, take too long, or produce weak seedlings. But here's the good news. Most of those problems can be prevented with a simple, smart step before planting: treating your seeds properly. In this video, we're going deep into the world of seed treatment for better germination. We'll explore both traditional techniques that have been passed down through generations and modern scientific methods used in high-tech farming today. You'll learn what works, what doesn't, and how to apply the right technique depending on your crop and growing conditions. We'll even show you how to do it yourself at home using materials you probably already have in your kitchen, boosting their immunity and helping them absorb water and nutrients more efficiently. A properly treated seed not only germinates faster, but also grows stronger, resists disease better, and ultimately leads to a healthier, more productive plant. Over the next 30 minutes, you'll discover everything you need to know to start treating your own seeds with confidence. We'll show you how to soak, sterilize, prime, and even biologically coat your seeds for best results. If you've ever been frustrated by slow-growing or stubborn seeds that refuse to sprout, this video is going to change the way you garden permanently. So grab a notebook, hit that like button, and let's get growing, starting from the seed up. Before we dive into the actual techniques, inside every tiny seed is a living embryo just waiting for the right conditions to burst into life. But that life doesn't begin until three key things are in place: moisture, warmth, and oxygen. Once these conditions are met, the seed absorbs water, its metabolism kicks in, and the outer seed coat softens. Then a tiny root called the radicle breaks through the seed coat and begins to grow downward, while the shoot starts pushing upward toward the light. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's the catch. Some seeds are fresh and ready to go. Others are dormant and need to be woken up. Some have hard coats that block water absorption. Others might carry invisible pathogens or fungi on their surface that will kill the sprout before it even emerges. And then there's age. Seeds don't last forever. Over time, their viability drops. A seed that's 3 years old might look fine, but inside, its ability to germinate could be 50% or less, or zero. Moisture, light, and temperature exposure during storage also affect seed health, often before you even open the packet. Seed germination is also highly sensitive to environmental factors. If the soil is too cold, germination can be delayed or completely halted. If it's too dry, the seed won't activate. If the soil is compacted, there might not be enough oxygen for the seed to breathe. And even if the seed does sprout, pathogens in the soil can quickly attack the vulnerable seedling unless it's been protected in advance. This is where seed treatment comes in. Treating seeds helps eliminate some of these barriers. It helps improve moisture absorption, kill surface pathogens, break dormancy, and even supply nutrients or beneficial microbes directly to the seed before planting. In some cases, need warmth, often over 20 degrees Celsius, to germinate properly. Some seeds, like carrots, are notoriously slow to germinate, taking 2 to 3 weeks. Others, like beans or radishes, might pop up in just a few days. Knowing the behavior of your specific crop will help you choose the best treatment method for that seed. In summary, successful germination doesn't just depend on good soil and water. It starts with understanding the biology and behavior of the seed itself. Every seed carries the potential for life, but only under the right conditions. And by treating them properly, which we'll get into very soon, you can create those conditions artificially and reliably, even before the seed ever touches the soil. Now that you understand the basics of seed germination and the many factors that affect it, let's move on to the hands-on part: traditional seed treatment methods. These are simple, time-tested techniques you can do with almost no equipment using things you probably already have at home. They've been used for centuries by farmers around the world, and they still work today. Ready to learn them? Let's get started. Now that we've covered what seed germination is and why it matters, often with limited resources but impressive results. What makes traditional seed treatment so valuable is its accessibility. You don't need a lab, expensive tools, or commercial chemicals. You just need basic knowledge, a few everyday materials, and a little care. Let's start with one of the simplest and most widely used methods, soaking seeds in water. It sounds almost too simple, but soaking helps kickstart the germination process by softening the seed coat and allowing water to penetrate the embryo. For tougher seeds like morning glory, beet, or chard, warm water may be more effective. But timing is critical. Over-soaking can actually damage the seed, depriving it of oxygen or causing it to rot. The rule of thumb is, soak until you see the first sign of swelling, but not until the seed becomes mushy. Another easy and effective method is the saltwater float test. This is not technically a treatment, but a way to separate viable seeds from duds. Mix about 1 tablespoon of salt in a cup of warm water, stir until dissolved, and add your seeds. Let them sit for a few minutes. Good seeds will usually sink, while bad ones, often empty or damaged, will float. This method is especially useful when working with saved or old seeds where germination rate is uncertain. After the test, make sure to rinse and dry your seeds thoroughly before moving on to other treatments. Next, let's talk about hot water treatment. This method is used to disinfect seeds by killing surface-borne pathogens like fungi, bacteria, and some viruses. It's especially useful for crops prone to disease, such as tomatoes, peppers, and brassicas. The process involves soaking seeds in water heated to a precise temperature, usually around 50 degrees Celsius, for 15 to 30 minutes. Too hot or too long, and you risk killing the embryo. Cool the seeds immediately in cold water, then dry them on a clean cloth or paper towel. This method is incredibly effective, especially in organic systems where synthetic chemicals are not allowed. In many rural areas, natural plant-based treatments are commonly used. Garlic extract, for example, has antifungal and antibacterial properties. You can crush a few cloves of garlic, soak them in water overnight, and use the strained liquid to soak seeds for 15 to 30 minutes. Turmeric, another common spice, is known for its antifungal effects. A pinch of turmeric powder mixed with water can be used as a quick dip for seeds before sowing. Aloe vera gel, diluted with water, can serve as a natural priming agent. These homemade solutions may not be as scientifically precise as lab-developed treatments, but they do offer a layer of protection and can boost early-stage seedling health, especially in home gardens. One traditional technique still used in many parts of Asia and Africa is soaking seeds in cow urine or diluted cow dung slurry. While this might sound unpleasant, these substances are rich in microbial life and act as natural disinfectants and biostimulants. They are especially popular in organic or low-cost farming systems, where farmers avoid synthetic inputs. Wood ash, too, is sometimes dusted on as seeds as a dry coating, especially in areas where pest pressure is high. It can act as a mild insect repellent and also provide trace minerals. Fermented rice water, banana peel soak, compost tea. The list of natural seed treatments is long and varied, often depending on local resources and traditions. But the principle is the same. These treatments aim to boost the seed's immunity, soften the seed coat, and improve overall germination. What's important when using traditional methods is consistency. Measure soaking times, water temperature, and ratios of natural ingredients. Keep notes. Try small test batches before applying the technique to all your seeds. And always remember to dry seeds properly after any wet treatment before storing or planting them. Unless you're sowing immediately, traditional seed treatment methods are more than just low-cost solutions. They represent generations of agricultural knowledge adapted to different climates, crops, and farming conditions. While they may lack the precision of industrial seed coating, they offer resilience, flexibility, and sustainability, especially when combined with observation and care. In the next part, we'll explore how modern seed treatment techniques take some of these same principles and push them further with the help of science, technology, and microbiology. You'll see how today's farmers and researchers are using advanced coatings, priming methods, and microbial inoculants to improve crop success rates, reduce chemical use, and increase food security at scale. But even then, you'll find that many of these cutting-edge innovations are just modern twists on ancient wisdom. So don't underestimate the power of simple methods. Sometimes, what your great-grandparents used still works better than you'd expect. Let's now transition to the world of modern seed treatment and see what happens when agriculture meets technology. As agriculture has evolved, so have the techniques used to prepare seeds for optimal performance. While traditional methods are still widely practiced, modern seed treatment technologies have opened up a new level of precision and enhancing a plant's ability to withstand stress. They take the same fundamental goal, giving seeds a better start, and apply it using science, chemistry, microbiology, and even engineering. Industrial-scale thermal treatment systems use hot air, steam, or even vapor to clean seeds without damaging their internal embryo. These systems can be programmed to reach exact temperatures, say 55 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, to eliminate fungal spores, bacteria, or seed-borne viruses. This method is especially popular in the commercial vegetable seed industry, where disease-free planting material is essential. For example, treating tomato or pepper seeds can reduce the risk of bacterial canker or damping off diseases in early seedling stages. Another widely used approach is chemical treatment. Commercial seed companies often apply a coating of fungicide, insecticide, or antimicrobial agents directly to seeds before packaging. This coating protects the seed during its first critical weeks in the soil, when it's most vulnerable to fungal infections like Pythium or Fusarium. These chemical treatments are often color-coded, for example, pink or blue, both as a safety measure and a visual indicator of treatment. While these substances are regulated and generally safe when used properly, they do require caution. Treated seeds should never be eaten, and they should be kept away from children and animals. For large-scale farming, chemical treatment can dramatically reduce seedling losses and cut down on the need for early pesticide applications. Rhizobium bacteria form nodules on the roots of legume crops and help them fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. Trichoderma fungi can suppress soil-borne diseases and stimulate plant growth. These coatings not only improve crop health, but also reduce the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Another major advancement is seed priming. This is a technique where seeds are soaked in specific solutions, sometimes just water, sometimes containing nutrients, hormones, or osmotic agents, and then dried back before sowing. There are several types of priming: hydropriming, soaking in water; osmopriming, soaking in solutions like polyethylene glycol or potassium nitrate; and biopriming, soaking in water containing beneficial microbes. Priming is particularly useful in crops that suffer from uneven emergence, such as carrots or lettuce. It's also valuable in areas with short planting windows, where quick and synchronized germination is critical. One of the most visually obvious modern techniques is polymer seed coating. Delay germination in cold soils, or act as carriers for micronutrients and plant growth regulators. They also reduce dust-off of seed treatments. This kind of seed engineering is becoming increasingly popular in high-value crops, where uniformity and precision are vital. For very advanced applications, there's also seed pelleting and encrusting. These are physical modifications that change the size, shape, or weight of the seed, making it easier to plant mechanically, especially for very small or irregularly shaped seeds like lettuce or celery. The seed is coated with inert materials like clay or starch until it forms a round, uniform pellet that flows smoothly through precision planters. This technique offers both convenience and improved crop establishment. And let's not forget about nanotechnology, which is just beginning to enter the world of seed treatment. Researchers are experimenting with nanocoatings that deliver nutrients or protective agents more efficiently, at lower doses, and with greater control. While this field is still emerging, early results show promise for improving germination rates and stress tolerance, especially under extreme weather conditions. Of course, with all of these innovations come questions about cost, complexity, and sustainability. Not every gardener needs polymer coatings or microbial inoculants, and not every farmer has access to precision thermal equipment. But what's exciting is that many of these technologies are becoming more affordable and adaptable to small-scale farming. DIY versions of seed priming, for instance, and improve germination efficiency. Whether you're growing one tray of lettuce in your backyard or 100 hectares of maize, the principles remain the same. Protect the seed, support its early growth, and give it every chance to thrive. The key is knowing which technique fits your scale, crop, and growing conditions. In the next section, we'll show you how to apply some of these methods yourself, right from home. No special equipment required. Get ready for a hands-on demonstration of practical, effective, and accessible seed treatment that you can start using today. Now that you've seen how both traditional and modern seed treatment methods work, it's time to get practical. In this section, we're going to walk through some of the easiest, most effective DIY techniques that you can try right at home. No laboratory, no expensive tools. These methods will give your seeds a solid start. Let's begin with one of the simplest and most effective treatments, soaking your seeds in warm water. For this demonstration, we'll use tomato seeds. Heat some water to about body temperature, around 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. You don't need to be exact, but don't use boiling water. Pour the warm water over the seeds, just enough to submerge them, and let them soak for 6 to 8 hours or overnight. This process softens the seed coat and helps speed up germination. After soaking, let's prepare a natural disinfectant using hydrogen peroxide, which helps kill bacteria and fungal spores on the seed surface. Let them sit for 5 to 10 minutes, no more. You might see tiny bubbles forming around the seeds. That's normal. After soaking, rinse the seeds thoroughly in clean water and dry them on a paper towel. This simple step can dramatically reduce seedling diseases, especially for crops like cucumbers, melons, and brassicas that are prone to damping off. Now let's make a natural biopriming solution using garlic and turmeric. Crush 3 cloves of fresh garlic and mix them in a half a cup of warm water. Let it sit for 15 minutes. Then strain out the solids and add a small pinch of turmeric powder, about 1/4 teaspoon. Stir well. This mixture has mild antifungal and antibacterial properties. You can soak your seeds in this solution for 20 to 30 minutes before planting. It's especially helpful for small garden crops like leafy greens, herbs, and root vegetables. After soaking, rinse the seeds briefly, and they're ready to sow. Another method worth trying is the paper towel sprouting test, which acts both as a priming method and a germination check. Take a clean paper towel, dampen it slightly with clean water, not dripping wet, just moist. Spread your seeds evenly on one half of the towel, then fold the other half over the seeds to cover them. Place the towel inside a Ziploc bag or plastic container to retain moisture, and keep it in a warm place like on top of the refrigerator or near a sunny window. Within a few days, usually between 2 and 7 depending on the seed type, you'll see tiny roots emerging. This is a great way to test viability before planting, and it gives your seeds a head start. These natural biostimulants are full of micronutrients, enzymes, and plant hormones that can trigger strong root development. Just a few drops in your soak water can make a noticeable difference in vigor. Alternatively, it's important to handle your seeds gently. Treated seeds are more sensitive and may absorb moisture faster, so sow them promptly into prepared, well-draining soil. If you need to wait a few days, these are the kinds of habits that make the difference between frustration and confidence in gardening. Not just throwing seeds into soil and hoping for the best, but starting with intentional, informed action that supports life from the very beginning. You don't need to use all these treatments on every seed. Choose what works best for your crops, your conditions, and your resources. For disease-prone seeds, use hydrogen peroxide or hot water treatment. For slow sprouters, try soaking and paper towel germination. For extra vigor, use natural stimulants like garlic, turmeric, or seaweed. The best method is the one you'll actually do, consistently, cleanly, and with care. Now that you've seen these seed treatment techniques in action, in the next section, we'll help you figure out how to choose the right method for your situation. With so many options, from basic soaking to microbial coatings, how do you know what's really worth doing? Stay with us, because next we'll break it down and make that decision easy. With all these seed treatment options available, from simple soaks to advanced coatings, the question becomes, which one should you use? The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The best method depends on several factors, including the type of seed, the size and scale of your planting, the local environment, and your available tools or materials. In this section, we'll help you simplify that decision by breaking down what to consider and how to match your situation with the right technique. Start by identifying what your seeds actually need. Are they fresh and healthy? Or are they old, saved, or purchased secondhand? If you're dealing with older seeds, your first priority is to check their viability. Use the paper towel test or the saltwater float method to separate the strong from the weak. There's no point treating seeds that won't grow at all. Next, consider the crop type. Seeds with naturally hard coats, like beans, peas, spinach, or morning glory, often benefit from soaking or even light scarification before planting. On the other hand, tiny seeds like lettuce, celery, or carrots are usually better suited for priming or pelleting if you're working at scale. For disease-sensitive crops like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and brassicas, disinfection using hydrogen peroxide or hot water treatment can make a significant difference in reducing seedling loss due to damping off or bacterial infections. Also think about your growing environment. If your garden is prone to damp, cool soil, the kind that encourages fungi, a preventative treatment like warm water soaking, peroxide dip, or a natural antifungal soak with garlic or turmeric is a smart move. If your soil is nutrient-poor or compacted, adding biological seed coatings with helpful microbes like mycorrhiza or rhizobium can support stronger early growth. For dry climates or irregular watering, polymer coating or seed priming can improve moisture retention and root establishment. Then there's scale. Are you planting 10 seeds in containers on your balcony or thousands in a field? If it's a small batch, traditional soaking or natural treatments are usually more than enough. If you're sowing large areas, efficiency matters more. That's where pre-treated, pelleted, or coated seeds become worth the investment. Here's a simple decision-making checklist to help guide you. Old or saved seeds. Do a float test or pre-germination trial. Hard-coated seeds? Soak in warm water. Disease-prone crops? Disinfect with peroxide or hot water. Slow germinators? Try priming or sprouting before planting. Growing organically? Use natural treatments like garlic, aloe, turmeric. Scaling up production? Consider treated or coated seeds for consistency. The goal is not to use every method on every seed, but to understand what your seeds need most. Once you learn to recognize those needs, choosing the right treatment becomes easy and eventually automatic. In the next section, we'll look at some common mistakes people make when treating seeds and how to avoid them. Because even with the best techniques, simple errors can sabotage your success. Let's make sure you get it right from start to finish. Even with the best intentions and the right tools, mistakes can still happen. And when it comes to seed treatment, even small errors can make a big difference. That's why this part of the video is just as important as any technique we've shown so far. Knowing what not to do can save you time, money, and frustration. So let's talk about the most common mistakes people make when treating seeds and how you can avoid falling into those traps. One of the most frequent errors is oversoaking. It's easy to think that if soaking for 6 hours is good, soaking for 24 must be better, but that's not how it works. Seeds are living organisms, and soaking them for too long can deprive them of oxygen, cause premature sprouting, or even lead to rot and mold. The ideal soak time varies by seed type, but in general, anything over 12 hours starts to increase the risk of damage. If in doubt, soak less, not more. And always drain and dry seeds gently after soaking unless you're planting them immediately. Another mistake is using the wrong concentration of disinfectants or natural solutions. Hydrogen peroxide, for example, is very effective, but only at the correct dilution. Using it full strength or soaking for too long can damage the seed coat and harm the embryo inside. The same goes for natural antifungal solutions like garlic or turmeric. More is not always better. These are powerful compounds, and overdosing them can stress or burn the seeds. Always follow recommended ratios, start with small batches, and test on a few seeds before scaling up. Improper drying is also a silent killer. After any wet treatment, seeds need to be dried thoroughly before being stored or planted, especially if you're not sowing them right away. Damp seeds stored in a closed container can grow mold quickly, rendering them useless. Spread them out on paper towels or a cloth in a well-ventilated space out of direct sunlight. Make sure they're completely dry to the touch before packing them away. Another common oversight is treating the wrong seeds. In other words, applying a method to a seed type that doesn't benefit from it or is actually harmed by it. For example, some small, thin-coated seeds can be damaged by hot water treatment or heavy soaking. Others may not need any treatment at all. That's why it's so important to research the specific needs of the plant you're growing. Finally, one of the biggest mistakes is skipping seed treatment altogether out of impatience or assuming it won't make a difference. This is especially common in beginner gardeners. But skipping this step often leads to poor germination, uneven stands, and weak plants that struggle from start. Taking just a few extra minutes to treat your seeds can dramatically improve your success rate and make your gardening experience much more satisfying. Avoiding these mistakes isn't difficult. It just takes attention, care, and a bit of practice. As with most things in gardening, observation is your best teacher. Pay attention to how your seeds respond. Keep notes, experiment, adjust, and don't be afraid to fail. Over time, you'll develop your own rhythm and intuition for what works best. In the next part of our journey, we'll answer some common questions and bust a few myths that still confuse many gardeners when it comes to seed treatment. Because the more you understand, the better your results will be, and we're here to make sure you grow with confidence. At this point in the video, you've learned a lot, probably more than most gardeners ever do about seed treatment. But even with all the facts and techniques we've covered, there's still plenty of myths, misunderstandings, and frequently asked questions that can cause confusion. In this section, let's clear the air by tackling some of the most common questions and beliefs people have when it comes to treating seeds. First up is the classic myth. All seeds will grow if you just give them enough water and sunlight. This sounds nice, but it's simply not true. Many seeds have hard coats, dormant embryos, or microbial contaminants that will block germination no matter how perfect your sunlight and water schedule is. Without proper treatment, some seeds might take weeks to sprout or never sprout at all. And even if they do, untreated seeds can grow into weak seedlings that are more susceptible to disease and stunted growth. The idea that seeds are foolproof just because they're natural is misleading. Seeds are alive, but they also need care, and seed treatment is part of that care. Here's another one. If I use chemical seed treatments, I'll get better results than any natural method. Again, not always true. While chemical treatments can be highly effective, especially for disease prevention on a large scale, they aren't automatically better. They're also not always necessary, and in some cases, they can be overkill, particularly in small gardens or organic systems. Natural treatments like hydrogen peroxide, garlic extract, or even aloe vera can offer excellent protection without the downsides of synthetic residues. The right method depends on your context, not on what sounds more high-tech. A question I hear all the time is, can I mix different seed treatments together, like soaking in hydrogen peroxide and then garlic water? The answer is yes, but with caution. Layering treatments can work well if they're compatible, but it's important to rinse thoroughly between steps and avoid chemical interactions. For example, Don't use peroxide and a salt-based soak at the same time. Do your treatments in stages. Disinfect, rinse, then apply a biostimulant soak. Think of it like cooking. Mixing the right ingredients at the right time gives you the best result. Another myth that pops up: only commercial farmers need to treat their seeds. It's not necessary for home gardeners. This couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, seed treatment might matter more in small gardens, where every seed counts. If you're planting a few dozen seeds, losing even 5 or 6 to rot or poor germination is a big deal. Treating your seeds is a simple, low-cost insurance policy that helps maximize your harvest and minimize frustration. Finally, a common question is, how do I know if seed treatment actually worked? Great question, and the answer is by observing and comparing. Try a side-by-side test. Treat half your seeds, leave the other half untreated, and plant them in the same conditions. Watch for differences in germination speed, number of sprouts, and seedling health. You'll often see a noticeable improvement, especially with seeds that were older, vulnerable to disease, or slow to start. Results speak louder than theory, and doing your own tests is the best way to build confidence. As with all parts of gardening, don't be afraid to experiment and adapt. Ask questions, test things out, and share your experiences. There are many ways to succeed with seeds, and the more you understand, the more creative and resilient your growing process becomes. Up next, we'll wrap things up with a final summary and a few tips to help you apply what you've learned, plus a small challenge to help you get started right away. Let's bring it all together. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You now know more about seed treatment than most hobby gardeners ever will. But more importantly, you've taken a big step toward becoming a more intentional, more successful grower. What started as a simple interest in getting seeds to sprout has grown into a deeper understanding of how life begins in the soil, and how a few minutes of preparation can unlock massive potential in even the smallest seed. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered. We began by exploring the basics: why seed treatment matters, what problems it helps prevent, and how it gives your plants a stronger, healthier start. We dug into traditional methods like soaking, scarification, and fermenting, and we explored modern techniques like microbial coating, pelleting, priming, and even polymer layering. Then, we walked through hands-on DIY demos using nothing more than household items: garlic, hydrogen peroxide, turmeric, warm water, showing you that you don't need a lab or chemicals to make a difference. We talked about how to choose the right method based on your crop, your goals, and your growing environment. We also looked at common mistakes, answered key questions, and busted some persistent myths that hold people back from trying seed treatment in the first place. But now comes the most important part of all: taking action. Because knowledge without application is just noise. So here's your challenge. Within the next 48 hours, I want you to pick one seed type, just one, that you're planning to grow this season, and treat it before you sow. Choose a method you learned in this video. Soak it, disinfect it, prime it, whatever feels manageable and useful to you. Even if it's just a handful of seeds on a paper towel, take that first step. Then watch what happens. Track how quickly they sprout. Observe the vigor of the seedlings. Compare them to any untreated seeds you have. Feel the difference not just in results, but in confidence. That small action, that moment of care at the very beginning, is how transformation begins, both for your plants and for you as a grower. And don't stop there. Share your results. Post a photo, tell a friend, or even start a journal of your gardening experiments. Seed treatment may seem like a tiny detail, but it's the kind of detail that separates frustration from success and guessing from growing with purpose. You'll find that the more attention you give to your seeds, the more rewarding your harvest becomes. The soil listens to how you begin. As we close this video, remember this: every great harvest starts long before the first green shoot breaks the surface. It starts with attention, preparation, and a willingness to learn. Treating your seeds is about more than boosting germination. It's about giving life the best possible start, no matter how small. It's a philosophy, not just a technique. So wherever you are in your gardening journey, Whether you're starting seeds on a windowsill or managing rows in a field, carry this knowledge with you. Let it guide your hands, your habits, and your hope for what's possible. Because in the quiet moment when you hold a seed in your palm, you're holding a future that hasn't happened yet, and how you treat it matters. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the world of seed treatment. If this video helped you, inspired you, or gave you a new perspective, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth content on practical, empowering techniques for modern agriculture and home growing. And don't forget to leave a comment. What seed are you going to treat first? Let's grow together, starting right now.